Chapter 16. Laney looked from Peter to Justin with wide eyes. You can't be serious. The ceremony was scheduled to start any minute.
We're very serious.
Peter leaned back in the other large leather chair and crossed one leg over the other. You were in the meeting the other day. We need to do something drastic, especially after he sent Heidi home. She was the focus group's favorite after the first 2 episodes. We need a favorite or there's nothing for the fans to watch. And you two obviously have a connection, Justin spoke up. He looked almost giddy, and Laney wanted to slap his plastic smile off his face. Look, what you saw the other day was an attraction, he finished for her. And I've been watching him since. Even if he had felt something for Heidi, what he feels for you is stronger. Laney's emotions careened around like a roller coaster. They wanted her to be a contestant. On one hand, her heart was jumping up and down at the opportunity. This meant the chance to date Tyler to see if their connection was real. But she'd have to be a contestant. She'd have to be on television, and she'd have to deal with the other women. Laney sucked in her breath. What about the other women? They'll hate me. They know I've spent more time with Tyler. Why would they even stay? Peter folded his hands and leaned forward, placing his elbows on the table. She hated how calm he appeared, as if this were the most natural solution in the world. We've thought about that too. The other girls will be jealous, yes, but those feelings will add some conflict to the show. It was lacking after he sent the first 2 women away. Plus, we have come up with an incentive for them to stay. They'll have the option to leave when it's announced you are joining, but for those who stay, we're going to offer a guaranteed spot on our tropical spin-off series, Match Made in Maui, that will be kicking off soon. Laney wasn't sure how many women left were on the show just for the fame, but she could imagine there were at least a few. An incentive of more FaceTime might be enough to keep them around. And what about me? Is there a bonus for me? You mean beyond the bonus of getting to date a man you are clearly attracted to? Justin's eyebrow arched on his forehead. It didn't even create a wrinkle. He must use Botox. Nobody's face was that wrinkle-free. She fixed an even stare on him. Yes, I mean beyond that. As much as I would like to date Tyler, you are asking me to walk into a hostile situation and have our relationship unfold on national television. That's not always the best foundation for a lasting relationship. So yeah, I want to know what's in it for me beyond that. A job with us, until Talia returns from maternity leave. Her head whipped around to Peter. And a recommendation from us after that. This is California, Laney. There are a lot of studios and modeling agencies around here that could use your talent. Laney bit her lip. While it wasn't a guaranteed job offer, it was as close to one as she could get. And that meant security and money. Money, especially for someone who had recently gotten fired and paid to move all her belongings back to Texas, was certainly appealing. What about Tyler? Does he know about this? Justin's lips pulled back into that plastic smile. This was Tyler's idea. He came in here just an hour ago to tell us that he wanted to pursue you. He offered to walk off the show and void his contract. Laney stared at the men. Tyler had offered to forfeit the money he needed for his ranch? For her? Peter and I happen to think this is a better idea. Everyone wins. Laney wasn't sure about that. The deal might have a perk for everyone involved, but she could also see about a dozen ways it could go incredibly wrong. Still, a chance with Tyler and the money was quite appealing. Can I have an hour to pray about it? Justin chuckled and leaned back. You two really are perfect for each other. What do you mean? Laney asked. I mean, that's exactly what he said when I laid out the option for him. Laney's heart leapt in her chest, but she mashed her lips together to keep from smiling. She'd guessed he was a believer after their conversation last night, but she was glad for the confirmation. Perhaps that explained some of their chemistry. A love for the Lord, combined with common roots of both being from Texas, made their connection make sense. Good. Then I'll take that as a yes. I'll pray about it and let you know my decision in an hour. She turned to Peter. I assume I'll have to move out of the bungalow and into the house? Those are the rules. And what about the makeup? Who will do it now? We've already got calls in for that, Peter said. You just let us know your decision, and we'll handle the rest. We will continue to pay you through the end of the show as well. Laney nodded and pushed back her chair. I'll let you know soon. She tried to focus her emotions as she walked back to her bungalow. This was a big decision, and one that could change her life. Tyler couldn't believe he was facing yet another ceremony. He had thought offering to leave the show would keep him from this, But Peter and Justin had presented another option. He didn't know if Laney would take it, but the fact that he was still in the deliberation room gave him hope she would. What if she had left? He'd agreed to stay only if she did, so the fact that Justin hadn't released him gave him hope. But then why hadn't the ceremony started yet? Maybe Justin was telling the women, if they all agreed to stay, Tyler would have to send 2 home tonight. He took the moment to go over them in his head. During the first group date, Cassidy had stood out. She hadn't vied for his attention like some of the other women, and she'd been comfortable on the back of a horse. At lunch, she'd ordered a burger and not a salad like most of the other women, further endearing herself to him. He didn't mind a woman ordering a salad if that's what she wanted, but he was tired of women ordering salads to lose weight. Michelle C. had stolen his focus on the second group date. She was fearless, not caring if she got hit or dirty. Her moves had put the other women to shame. He'd had a chance to talk with Erica and Peyton at dinner, and they were both spunky and fun, but the rest of the women he hadn't had much time with, nor had they stolen his focus. How would he choose the 2 women to send home? "Sorry I'm late," Justin said as he opened Tyler's door. "Are you ready for the ceremony?" "I'm assuming, since there is one, that Laney agreed to become a contestant?" Justin shrugged but said nothing. Tyler supposed he would find out shortly. He followed Justin into the living room where the 11 women stood. Confusion covered all their faces as well. Justin continued past them to the table at the front of the room where 10 little hats sat. "Welcome, ladies, and Tyler. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering why the ceremony is so late tonight." A few of the women nodded and looked around at their fellow competitors. "Well, since Tyler is so clear on what he doesn't want, we've eliminated more women than we usually do by now. We're afraid if he keeps this up, we might not have enough episodes to fill the season, so we decided to make it a little more interesting. We are bringing in someone Tyler has appeared to be attracted to." "What? That's not fair," Rachel spoke up. "We've been competing all week. It isn't right to bring someone new in." The other girls nodded in agreement. "I understand how you ladies feel, but remember we're all here to try to find Tyler a wife. However, we thought about you ladies when we made this decision." He picked up a hat. "Should you decide to leave and not accept Tyler's hat, that is understandable. However, should you decide to stay, you should know that this new girl will not be allowed one of the solo dates before we go to Tyler's ranch. Tyler won't be able to send women home during a date from here on out, and there is a special surprise for those of you who decide to stay. We've left you the details in your room, but you can't read it until you accept the hat." The girls looked to Tyler, but he simply shrugged. This was news to him, and he wasn't sure he liked some of the requirements they had added. But if it meant Laney was staying, he would go along with it. "Do we at least get to know who the woman is first?" Kanina asked. "Afraid not. The woman will arrive after the ceremony, so you will find out tonight. Those of you watching at home will have to wait for next week, I'm afraid." Justin's smile looked anything but apologetic as he stared out at the women and the camera. "Shall we get started?" The women looked at each other, but as none walked out, Tyler was fairly certain that was their way of agreeing. "Fantastic. I'll just take this for the mystery woman." Justin indicated the hat in his hand, "and Tyler can give out the rest. Looks like only 2 of you will be going home tonight. Tyler?" Tyler nodded, though he wasn't sure he was ready. He picked up the first hat and glanced around the room. The women smiled at him with nervous, anticipatory smiles, but one face was missing. Laney was not in attendance, and Tyler wasn't sure if that made the process easier or harder. "Cassidy?" She smiled and stepped forward, accepting his hat and stepping to the side. "Michelle C.?" The process continued until he had just one hat left. He looked at the 3 remaining women. Lila had her eyes closed and her lips moved slightly as if silently praying. Jade stared down at her feet, but Deborah N. stared directly at him. This was the part he hated the most. Though he wasn't sure he could see a future with any of these women, sending them home felt like rejecting them personally, and he'd had enough of that in his life to know it affected them. "Jade." As she smiled and stepped forward, he saw Lila cover her face with her hands. He had made her cry, and he hated himself for it. "Lila, Deborah, please take a moment and say your goodbyes." Lila walked over to him, her makeup already streaking down her cheeks from her tears. "I thought we had a connection. We just needed more time. Was this about earlier? I'm really sorry." Tyler looked to Justin for help, but the man seemed content to watch the display. "I'm sorry, Lila. You will find your perfect man someday." His empty words did little to console her, but she nodded and shuffled away. Deborah was a little more composed. She hugged him lightly and wished him luck before exiting the room. Though he knew he had to toast and celebrate with the women, Tyler wanted nothing more than to disappear to his room or go find Laney. Justin had said she would be joining, so where was she? Laney took a bite of her ice cream and stared down at her Bible. She'd have to go join the other women shortly, but she wanted to enjoy her last meal in the quiet. She still had no idea what would happen once she was in the house. Maybe the women would be civil, but Laney wasn't counting on it. The kitchen door opened and she smiled up at Mary Ann. "The ceremony over then?" "Yep, whenever you're ready. Are you sure you want to do this? I mean, I know you like him. I could tell the first day, but what if he turns out to be—" She bit her lip to keep from saying the words. "Another Dallas Nixon?" "I wasn't going to say it. He's no Dallas, Mary Ann. I had a crush on Dallas for 4 years, and he never gave me the time of day. Tyler already has shown more interest than that." "I know, but what if he changes when you're a contestant?" "I don't see that happening. Tyler seems like the real deal. He offered to walk off the show for me. To be honest, I'm much more worried about Justin." Mary Ann's face scrunched in confusion. "Why Justin?" Laney shook her head. "I don't know. He had this look on his face when he suggested this. I have this feeling he's going to try to sabotage it somehow. I just don't know how. Justin's harmless. He's vain and annoying, but harmless. If you trust Tyler, then I'm sure it will be fine. Speaking of which, are you ready?" Laney nodded and placed her bowl in the sink. Then she closed her Bible and tucked it in her bag before following Mary Ann out of the kitchen and into the main house. She could hear the hum of conversation as they approached the living room, and Laney took a deep breath. Here goes nothing. The conversation stopped as Laney and Mary Ann entered the room. "Ladies, meet your number 10. Mary Ann squeezed her arm before turning and leaving the room. Laney smiled out at the women, but a sea of severe faces stared back at her. "She's the number 10? The bonus better be worth it," one woman said before exiting the room. Laney sought Tyler's eyes across the room. The other women surrounded him, but he smiled at her and flashed a wink. Laney smiled back. It wasn't much, but that wink would have to be enough for now.